From your point of view, do you think Tupac was gonna leave Death Row?
Absolutely not. I mean, why would you leave a place where, they helped you get to this point? I mean, Tupac was in the studio 24/7, 24/7, and the bills were running up. He came home to a family. He was embraced. He had countless amount of money. He had cars. He had mansion. He had a condo on Wilshire. He had all his places personally furnished by Italy 2000. And if you guys know what Italy 2000 is, I mean, it was the most expensive furniture store in Beverly Hills. And Death Row, all their artists. I mean, Daz and our house was furnished by Italy 2000. I remember Sharitha was the interior decorator. She went and furnished everybody's house. Snoop's house got furnished. All Pac's places got furnished. Hers, ours, everybody. Pac was living the life. He was happy. I had never seen Suge so happy, and Pac. And if you get to this point where you're experiencing this over amount of love, money, you got opportunity, you have movie companies coming at you, and prior to this, that wasn't happening. But now everything is happening. Why? What would make you want to leave right at this point? Like, what? Why? All these things, these good things are happening. It's nothing negative happening. And you know for sure that these guys, you have a group of friends that are really loyal to you and really have your back. Why would you leave? I mean, he experienced, going into New York and you got getting shot and, not really having anybody that had his back at this point. Now you're over here and, they're looking out for you, bad or good. But I think he was content at that point. I don't think it was any reason to leave at this moment. And even if he wanted to separate and have his own company, it was always going to be some kind of Suge involvement because Suge helped him. And Pac always believed in reaching back on those who helped him. He was very gracious to everybody that had his back because he suffered in prison. He was doing really, really bad in prison. And he expressed that to so many people, and so many other labels left him high and dry in there to suffer. He suffered in there. Suge came to rescue him. So to me, he was going to always make sure that Suge was good too. That even if he ever left, it was going to be on good intentions. Oh, we started something together. But there was never a talk. I mean, that was some kind of conspiracy theory. If him wanting to leave, we were around him all the time. And, I was around him at his last hours. He was happy. He was completely happy. I mean, his family is getting flown to birthday parties. Okay, my daughter's second birthday party, his whole family was flown out here to Pasadena, California to come to my daughter Imani's second birthday party. His mother, sister, kids, everybody came. So he's experiencing this love, this celebrity that he had never experienced. So I don't think he was going to leave at that point. No, he was young. Who would not want to have cars and money and access to the world and the key to the city? He had it. So what reason was it to leave? Why? Why now?
Is it true that Suge was giving Tupac a allowance?
I've never heard of Suge giving Tupac an allowance. I mean, I think what we experienced, Daz always had money coming in from the producer's end of it, right? So when you're an artist and like you're a producer that's constantly making money, Daz was a producer that was constantly making money. He didn't need an allowance, because he was constantly making music. Now, if you had maybe not Sam Steve, Danny Boy, maybe because they weren't constantly, rotating music, maybe the allowance was coming to them. But when you're an artist, like a Daz that's producing all the time or really moving, or Tupac that's, albums are coming out, appearances, why would he have to have an allowance? I mean, maybe Rage was getting an allowance, maybe Sam Sneed got an allowance, maybe Danny Boy got an allowance, maybe 6 Feet Deep got an allowance, but for your heavy hitters, there was no need for them an allowance. They pretty much got whatever they wanted. I mean, hell, I had access to go to City National Bank on Sunset to get the amount of money I wanted. Anytime I needed money, I made a phone call, and there was always something for me at City National, or the accountants had it. I needed a car at one point. Told Suge or Sharitha I needed a car. There was $50,000 check left for me by the accountants, and I went to City National Bank to cash it. So there was never an allowance. Maybe for artists that are not working, they needed living money, but not for artists that are on that caliber that are making all the money. Never heard of that.
Right. Because I was looking at an interview from Danny Boy, and he pretty much said that Tupac was getting an allowance.
He was getting an allowance.
And he said Snoop was getting an allowance. So, just wondering, if...
I mean, in that case, Daz would be getting an allowance. When we didn't get an allowance that much, I mean, there was money in the account. Daz bought our bills were, our bills each month were totaling over $10,000. So, we had to have money to cover all that. Plus, all that was just housing there in private schools and all that. So, an allowance? No, there were, if I seen Daz $1 million check come in, that would go into the account. I seen another $1 million check come in, that will go into the account. I seen $60,000 checks come in. I seen $150,000 checks come in that goes into the account. So these are big number. I seen ASCAPs and BMI, domestic, they were going into the account. So it wasn't no allowance. It was sums of money at a time.
How you feel about people that say Suge was cheating Tupac out of money?
I mean, people are always gonna say that the record company is cheating, and I always tell everybody. I mean, you got to have a lawyer, you got to have an accountant, and you have to have an accountant watching that accountant. Because we've had several accountants that ran off with money. We had several accountants that didn't pay the IRS. So I mean, you got to account for your money. That's our job, to account for our money. People always want to dip. Dipping comes in, and dipping's been going on, I guess, for years. So I would say Pac was smart. Pac was very smart, and he had his accountants, and he had, I think he regulated his money. I think everything was fine. I know he counted at all his pennies. I know he counted. He made sure everything was okay, and that's what you have to do. I mean, you can't trust anybody.
How you feel about people that say Suge Knight was a bad influence on Tupac?
I say people saying that Suge was a bad influence. Pac was his own man, and Pac was a grown man. He wasn't a child. So Pac knew right from wrong. Period. He knew right from wrong, and he followed behind what was in his heart. And understand, Pac came to the table with a lot of a closet full of skeletons too. He came too. He didn't come squeaky clean. He came with a lot of issues too that Suge had to, unwrinkle for him. So you can't just solely put it on Suge that he was a bad influence. He came with things, and a baggage, and Suge accepted the baggage, and they worked it out. But I don't think Suge was a bad influence. You can't put that solely on him. These are all grown men, and they know what to do. You got to come in with your own mind, period. We've all been there. I mean, hell, I was there. And did any of that negativeness run off on me? I don't have a police record. I didn't go out and pull any capers. I have my own mind. Pac had his own mind. He made his own decisions. So we're not gonna put that all on Suge's back, because we're all grown and we know right from wrong. Period.